Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of Completed It. Some of you may know me from doing NFL work and other sports work, but here I am venturing out into the world of TV and film, and I couldn't be venturing out with a better guest to kick it off with. Some many years ago, starting off with a vlog post, some 9 years ago, this guest started off on this venture that has literally taken him around the world. Now, some 223 videos later, interviewing the likes of Piers Brosnan, to name but a few, he is sitting down with me, the one and only Luke, the Geek of Steel. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. I'm pretty sure you were talking about somebody else then. I thought, who's he? Who else is going to be on this podcast? You can't be talking about me. That was far too complimentary. But thank you for that. It's very nice to be here. I'm looking forward to not doing as much work, as it were. It's nice being a guest. There's not much post work to get done. So that's, yeah,
I know
great.
for those that watch Luke, he does a lot of his shows just recording on his own. It's one of the hardest things to do. I have so much admiration for people that sit. I'm lucky. I have guests most week on my NFL shows or whatever I'm doing. I watch your shows and I think, wow, it's engaging. There's not one point where you think, oh, some shows you watch and people are just rambling on, talking to themselves. Yours are not like that whatsoever. You go from having guests to you do book reviews, which we're going to get onto in a minute. Your last
Oh,
couple of
wow.
videos have
Yes.
been incredible, mate. So, mate, full admiration to you for what you do,
Thank
buddy.
you. Thank you. I mean, I'm not the best at getting feedback. If it's negative, I'm great at that because I can use those to sort of
hmm
improve or change. But I take compliments on, and I appreciate your kind words. And it's something that I've been doing for a while now, and I've enjoyed doing. I found a little skill for talking and interviewing. But as you said, if I've not got a guest on one week and there's something that I need to talk about, I can sometimes find the words to sit down, hit record, and speak. Talk about passions, talk about films, and sometimes, even though you were very kind about it, I do ramble on and I do waffle.
That's all
Those
right,
times I
mate.
edit those out, which is the great thing about editing, is that you can take things out.
Yeah, let's talk about the world of how you've got into this, Luke. Obviously, starting with like I've been following you for a number of years now on YouTube.
Thank
I
you.
listen to your podcast. How does it all start? As we can, everyone clearly watching on YouTube can tell you're a fan of a certain superhero. Maybe by the jacket I'm wearing today, that I
I
am a fan of the same superhero,
I
all that being
appreciate it.
DC's Superman. How does that all start, Luke? Because you talk about
Excuse me.
just wanting to do stuff about your hobbies, and hence why I'm doing this show. I just wanted to do something about a hobby. I'm not into how many people watch it or how many, it'll be great if it gets out there. That's superb. But I just wanted to do something that's just my passion and I love TVs and I love film and I love superheroes. What was the moment for you where you just went, do you know what? I want to do this. I'm going to start the Geek of Steel. I want to start out on this venture. Like I say, you started off with a vlog opening up a geek box. I've now
Yeah.
seen you interview some of the biggest Hollywood stars on the planet. How do you go from there to where you are now, my friend? Talk me through your journey.
I, I think eventually I'm going to get caught out. And they're going to think, actually,
Who's this
we don't
imposter?
want this guy. Who is this guy? He knows nothing. It was all just stepping slowly out of comfort zones many years ago. Started this whole journey with Instagram. I was using Instagram as a tool to document my library to make sure that I didn't buy the same thing twice. It didn't work because I'm always doing it. I'm getting duplicates all the time. But it turned into a more fun hobby of interacting with like-minded fans all around the world. And I was starting to talk with more people. And then that evolved into dealing with companies and working with brands. I think it was 2017, 2018 when I was like, right, if I'm going to do it, this is the time. So the Geek of Steel idea came about, got myself a website and all the handles, and started reaching out to companies. Sent so many emails out over the years,
Oh, I know that feeling.
and that's the advice that I give to people that are wanting to start this journey. It's like, where do I start? Who do I get in touch with? I said, well, many of these websites that you go on, whatever fandom you like and adore, they will have a marketing or press department.
hmm
Don't just email them saying, hi, my name's so and so. I want stuff. I want experiences. I want all the exciting things. Um, just ask these people, what can I do to help you promote your brand or your team or your band? And over the years, I've been fortunate enough to create relationships with companies like Warner Brothers and DC Comics. And to me, those companies, that's Superman's boss. You know, these are
Hmm.
companies that I've adored for years. So to sort of get emails back saying, could you help us promote this DVD or this film or this comic? Would you like to review this for us? Um, it's always been a yes because I'm excited to be a part of this world that I've loved for so long. And with that came the podcast. It just sort of happened one day. I was like, I want to jump on and give some advice and talk about why I love Superman or why I love comics. When we talk with people, you've probably seen this over the years, when we listen to somebody's story, and everybody's got at least one good story in them, is that this little light beams out the front of their chest, much like a Care Bear or a lighthouse, depending on which you prefer. But a light turns on and you start talking more and engaging more. And I found that with the podcast over the years, and it's led me to talk with some fantastic people and creators, fans, and it's given me, I would say, it's made me love Superman more by
Hmm.
learning more about what he means to others at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible journey. I mean, obviously, we can see from behind you, you're a huge
A little bit.
Superman fan, literally traveled the world following your hobby.
Mm.
Um, what's been the most fun part about your fandom so far? I've seen you've been to do like the Superman conventions abroad. You've met some incredible people that have been involved with the franchise. I know you got to speak to Christopher Reeve, some of Christopher Reeve's family on the recent
Yeah.
documentary that's come out. Obviously, we're going to get into the new movie that's coming out on July the 11th. What's been the moment for you where you've gone, oh my God, I can't believe I've just done that? I mentioned in my intro, you got to sit down and on a Zoom call and interview Pierce Brosnan and
I
things like
mean,
that. There
that
must be
was
many that are just like, hang on a minute. This I've done the same. I've interviewed some. I remember sitting down interviewing Terry Crews, and I was just thinking
wow.
to myself. I'm sitting there interviewing Terry Crews. I've interviewed some of the biggest sports stars on the planet, and it's just little old me on Zoom
That's it.
speaking to you. How does that feel for you going from where you were on Instagram, documenting your life, to sitting down with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood?
I mean, there are definite pinch me moments, normally afterwards and like days before and after. And that's what I like about going back and listening to old podcasts and watching old videos. For me, that is a form of journaling. It's my way of documenting my adventures as Luke Bug and my adventures as the Geek of Steel. But there are definite pinch me moments before, but there are also sort of quite high levels of stress and anxiety and nervousness. And I use that. I use that somehow as some sort of not a motivator, but if I'm not nervous or prepared for an interview, then I feel that I'm not doing my job properly.
Hmm.
I should be excited. I should be a little bit worried that these interviews are going to go the right way. But yeah, there have been pinch me moments where I've been sort of on the red carpet interviewing people or sitting down talking with people that have created comics that I've adored for years. And there is me asking them questions about their work. And I'm thinking, this is the equivalent of me writing a fan letter to a comic and I'm waiting months for it to be published, but they're there right in front of me. But I would say some of the most exciting times for me as a Superman blogger and fan is when someone says, "Oh, I was out shopping last week and this shop sells this Superman thing. I don't know if you've got it. Have you got it?" Or someone would be like, "Oh, Superman's on TV tonight. It's Superman 3, but don't worry, it's still a good one. Are you going to watch it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to watch it." So it's when it's not, I'd say it's a little bit egotistical, but when someone sees something Superman and they think of me, I'm like, that's like a warm hug because they're associating me with my hero, and it's like we're like linked together somehow. I've always been just a huge fan of Superman. I am the Jimmy Olsen or the Bibbo Babowski, as it were, on Twitter. When it was Twitter a few years ago,
Oh, God
I
bless
got a
it.
I got a reply from Superman saying, "Luke, you are Superman's pal." And I was like, right, I'm screenshotting that. I'm
Yeah.
putting that on a t-shirt. I'm taking that one to the grave. So yeah, it's when somebody sees something Superman or wants to talk about a trailer or a film or a comic with me, because it's engaging, and that's the perfect sort of engagement that I want with the world. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it over the years. There is so much negativity online, and I try. It's hard to ignore it, but it's easy to not interact with it. I would much rather speak to somebody that is excited for something rather than somebody that is wanting something to fail. I don't really want to spend my time and energy talking negatively. I want my time when I'm escaping, as it were, to be enjoyable and to be
Hmm.
fun. So yeah, that's one of those fun times for me. The pinch me moments is when somebody would reach out and say, "Do you want to talk about Superman?" Much like you reaching out saying, "Do you want to come on this podcast to talk about Superman?" It's always going to be a big old yes from me. So those are the fun things for sure.
Look, let's do it. Let's talk about Superman. Obviously, we've got the brand new movie coming out on July the 11th.
Oh,
Where are you with the franchise as it stands? Because I speak to a lot of people who love the Superman movies, but the main thing they all say to me is they don't want to see a movie where he comes from Krypton, he lands on Earth, he gets brought up by the yada yada. They don't want that. So this movie coming out on July the 11th is going to be a complete 180. It's going to be something that fans haven't seen. Where are you with the franchise? Because we've gone from, say, Superman. Christopher Reeve will always be the GOAT. He will
mm-hmm.
always be Superman. We've gone from growing up in that era to going through to the TV shows, which we're going to get to in a little bit. So I've got some interesting. I want to get some of your views on where they're going
Of
to go
course.
with that moving forward. We go to Superman Returns. We go to the Superman Man of Steel with one of my favorite Supermans to where we are now. Where are you with what they're doing with the franchise? Because it's gone from up here sometimes. I really enjoyed Superman Returns.
Mm.
They got to the end of it, and they with the end credit scenes, they're like, "Oh, we're going to find out about the next bit, like with his son," and then it died a death.
Yeah.
Then we went to the Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, and I'm thinking this is going to be incredible, and it was. Then what happened with Henry Cavill happened, and you're like, "Oh my God, are we? They're not going to reboot it again, surely." Here, fast forward, they have a brand new Superman movie coming out on July the 11th. I know you've literally just sit down and watched the trailer in December, like the rest of us. Loved your review of it. Loved the
Thank you.
facial expressions. It was incredible. Where are you right now with the Superman franchise and what's going on with it?
Here's the thing. I'm always going to be team Superman. And this, much like yourself, is not my first rodeo. I've been there for TV show premieres. I've been there for film re-releases and everything that comes along with it, including the merchandise, which is always the most exciting and most scary part of a film release, because I know the credit cards will take a pounding this year. But for me, when it comes to Superman, I know and I hope that in my lifetime, many more people will play him. Many more stories will be told and retold and re envisioned, because it means that the legacy of my hero and Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's work is continuing to be told. Without those two guys, we would not have this world of superheroes and entertainment and fashion and culture. But this time around, I've been around, as I said, for previous years and releases. Something feels different, and I'm still trying to put my finger on what that buzz is, what that excitement, what that mystery is about this Superman film. We've seen some of the branding and the marketing. We know that James Gunn can not only create an interesting film franchise out of characters that some people might not necessarily know. We know that he's really good with the soundtrack. We know that he can make people cry with a CGI animal or alien. So, what I've seen online, what I've seen from the comments, the majority of the people that know Superman are excited.
Mhm.
But what I'm excited to see even more is that fresh fans are coming. They've seen the buzz around this trailer and they're getting on board and they think, oh, yeah, kind of maybe forgotten about Superman a little bit. Let's see how this can change my mind on a superhero film or a franchise. For me, everything comes back to Superman. I've got an odd talent where I can pretty much link any given thing to a Superman story or a Superman film or a comic. This buzz, though, around this latest film, it's gotten people talking.
Mm.
And the narrative seems to be a little bit turning online where there is more positivity than negativity. And I'm so excited for that to happen. It's a rare opportunity when I have to block somebody online for being negative or being rude. I have seen it. I've been called most things in my life when I'm not doing the Geek of Steel stuff. I've been in customer service for over 20 years.
Oh,
If there's an insult out there, I've heard it. And
oh
if it's
yes.
new and intelligent, I'll shake your hand. Well done for
Mm.
managing to insult me in a new way. But I'm seeing the positivity come back online about this film, about the future of this franchise, not just about Superman. And that is down, I feel, to the way that James Gunn and the DC Comics family are going to be changing things. We've seen that new intro now of Superman ripping off those chains and the fact that the first movie we got in this new era of DC was Superman, the Christopher Reeve story.
Mm-hmm.
It's honoring everything from the past, but embracing the future of Superman, but still holding on to all those things that are important. I've talked about in the past the tapestry of Superman. There are so many pieces of thread connecting all these characters and those that write and draw and portray Superman. And they all seem to be going towards the right goal now, which is celebrating Superman as a character and what that character has brought to the world for almost a century now, which is unbelievable.
Luke, do you think this is a big opportunity for DC? Because they've been caught up in this whole DC Marvel thing for years.
Yeah,
I've always been DC. It's always been my favorite. I've argued with, and look, I love, who doesn't love watching the Avengers and everything
yeah.
that Marvel, I love it. I'm not going to sit here and deny it, but I've always been a DC fan. I've got Paul coming on from DC World, so he's watching this, so I have to say that as well.
You
So
have to, otherwise, you
yeah,
won't come
he
on.
won't come on. I'm really looking forward to it, but I love the work. But I love DC. I love Marvel. And I know Paul's heavily involved with both of them, but obviously it does a lot with DC World. But the Marvel franchise seemed to take a little bit of a dip after, like, I think Iron Man and
Mm,
Endgame and all that. Is this a real chance for DC now to say, hey, look, because I think it was for years, it was always seen Marvel was up there because of what had happened with the Avengers run.
yeah.
And DC, not that they kind of kept dropping the ball with, especially like with the Superman franchise, because like I said earlier, we'd get Superman Returns, and then that
Mm,
got scrapped, and then we got the Man of Steel, and what happened with Henry Cavill happened. Is this now, and what James Gunn's doing, in your opinion, is this DC's chance is probably the wrong word, but for them to say, hang on a minute, we're still here, we're still
yeah.
one of the biggest franchises on the planet. Let's see what we can do with this new era.
I think it's a very big opportunity, and opportunities like this don't come around very often. And I think now that James Gunn is definitely more involved there, he has been around the block. He's dealt with franchises before. He's dealt with big companies. He's dealt with probably being, oh yes, you can have these characters, but we want you to write them this way. This is where we want to take us into the future. So James Gunn aside, DC Comics is in a very good place, I feel, right now to, as you say, mix things up, but not too much, as it were. It's
Hmm.
it's still early days. We've seen a little bit of what we could get from the future of James Gunn with Creature Commandos. We've seen a bit with the Penguin and the Batman now, even though
Yeah.
that wasn't really going into James Gunn's side. He's still heavily promoting it and still loving what's been coming out, which has been phenomenal television.
Because it happened with
So
Justice League as well, didn't it? What
it
did you,
did.
because they tried to do Avengers, and I had this argument with so many people. They're like, oh, Andy, look at your DC lot trying to do, and I'm like, do you know how long the Justice League have been around for?
Yeah,
What
it's
did you
always
make
fun.
of that whole when they done, and I know they released a Snyder cut, and it was hit and miss for a lot of people. Me personally, I enjoyed it. I think they could have done a little bit better with the way that it was portrayed. And I think there's still more. And I'm hoping James Gunn is going to, I hope we're going to see the Justice League in a movie or doing something
I
together
mean, yeah. I mean,
again.
the fans want it. I think what we've had for so many years is whenever you see something new coming out from DC, whether it be comics or movies or merchandise, it's been Batman, Batman,
Mhm.
Batman, Batman. Batman has been their bread and butter. And don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic character. There are some fantastic stories and animations and films out there. But now with Superman being the front runner, there's going to be talk soon of, oh, well, we've got Superman now, but maybe we can have Superman and Batman. And if we can have that, we could have Wonder Woman, and we'll start bringing in more characters and more villains. And they're at a starting point now where one would hope that this film is going to do well. I want that for my hero. I'm Team Superman. I'm going to root for my home team. I want this film to do well, and I'll be dreadfully upset if it doesn't. But from this film being a success, it will lead the way to more successes. And the way that I've seen James Gunn wanting to take this on, I can remember when you released that press release a couple of years ago where he talked about the fact that Superman is going to be the first film that comes out. He wants to work with these characters and these storylines, and he's got this work ethic. But one of the things that really did excite me was that he wanted to make sure that, say, if David Corn Sweat is playing Superman in live action, he would also want David Corn Sweat to voice him in animated features, or who knows? I'm still waiting for a good Superman video game. He would
Mhm.
portray him in that as well. So it's not just about the here and now, I feel, with James Gunn. He's looking forward to seeing how these characters could intertwine with the future of DC Comics. And he's got a game plan for sure. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be at a few round table events where we've been able to hear James Gunn answer the questions. And the passion for the storytelling has always been there, not just for Superman or Batman, but characters and unique niche villains as well as unique heroes. He's got the love for the art of storytelling through comics, and he's been heavily promoting that as well. So much so that all the recommended reading material for Superman and Supergirl, they've had to go into second or third printings because they're
Mhm.
selling out. He's promoting the artists and the writers. In a perfect world, when a Superman or a superhero film comes out, in the lobby, I would love there to be classic comic spinners where, like, if you enjoyed the reading of this character in this film, you're going to enjoy this comic. If you like this character, you might enjoy this character. It doesn't have to be from DC or from Marvel. It's getting kids and grown-ups into this world of comics, which is a beautiful and welcoming place. And that is what I'm seeing from James Gunn, is why I feel that, yes, right now is a pivotal moment. And what we're getting from the buzz of this trailer and the buzz of this excitement of Superman is that I feel we're at a turning point. Something's happening in the world of blogging and entertainment where people want positivity. And that's what you get from Superman. Superman is hope. Superman is joy. Superman saves people. And that is what I'm hoping we're going to get from this film and the future of DC.
Yeah, I mean the comic world could open up a vast amount of things. I mean, we could do a whole another whole. I'm rereading the Rebirth run at the minute, and like
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Doomsday and people like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you could open. I know I flinch every time my postman turns up because my wife just turns and looks at me. You've ordered another comic, haven't you? No, no, dear. Honestly, no, honestly, I haven't. I can see them over there. They're piling up. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the comic world could open up a whole
It
new
could.
plethora of films, and like you're saying, villains. And you look at that, how great the death of Superman went down, the comic, and then the rebirth, and then you've got things
Mm.
like Doomsday, Bizarro, all them great comic book characters that one day we potentially could see on
Yes.
screen. While we're talking about screen and movies, the future of TV with
Yes.
DC. I've recently just finished watching Superman and Lois. Absolutely loved it. We might have someone that has appeared on there coming on our show in the next couple of weeks,
Oh,
which I'm hoping to
exciting.
announce by the end of next week.
Awesome.
What do you think the future holds for TV wise with it, Luke? Because obviously we've gone from, say, Smallville, which for me is the greatest Superman TV show of all time. I
You're
could
checking all the right boxes, buddy.
watch it and
I
watch
tell
it
you
again.
what.
It's absolutely incredible. Then Superman and Lois, I absolutely loved. There wasn't one episode where I thought that wasn't great. Even Lois and Clark back in the 90s. When you rewatch it now, you do laugh at some of the things on there,
Yes.
but it was for the time, it was for the era. are we going to go down a route where you think we potentially, because I think Superman and Lois finished a little bit too early for me. I think there was potential there, and
There was.
I'm still hoping and praying that someone might pick it up. I know the ending was the ending, but this is superheroes. Anything can happen. What
That's
do you
it.
think the future holds for the world of TV regarding Superman? Because there is so much potential there, but the way it's been left at the minute, I know they're focusing on the movies, but when you look into like the Marvel universe and you look on Disney Plus every day, there's a TV spin-off for absolutely everything on there. You know, there's Captain America, there's absolutely a Black Widow, etc., etc. What do you, in your opinion, what would you like to see from the future of TV with Superman? But what do you think we'll see?
Now, we are so spoilt for choice now when it comes to entertainment, whether it be streaming or TV or films. I'm still a great believer in episodic television where we get an episode each week, and binging stuff is fantastically fun. Don't get me wrong, but there are so many options and avenues where DC Comics could go with their TV storytelling. It's been joked about in the years where there's been so many different types of Batman show that you could have an Alfred spin-off, you could have a spin-off just about Batman's cars and villains and sub characters from the world of DC Comics. But I feel now that television is in such a wonderful place where there are some fantastic writers and producers and directors that are able to make a film each week to put out. There's unbelievable work that goes into creating a television program. And we've seen that with the Penguin. It's winning so many awards for its costume design and its writing and its storytelling that sometimes if you throw too much stuff out there, we you don't get as much magic back, I would feel. So I think James Gunn and everybody at DC is going to be careful about what gets put out there. DC have always been fantastic when it comes to animation, whether it's trying something new or retelling an old story in a new way. We had that last year with the Caped Crusader from Batman. There was some gorgeous animation and storyline in that. But there are many characters out there that haven't had their chance to have their story told. So not necessarily
Look at Krypton. That didn't
exactly.
really hit, but I quite enjoyed it.
Krypton was a fantastic
Yeah.
show, fantastic storyline that had potential for many more seasons. And sometimes we don't always get that. And sometimes you will get from that fan fiction, and there will be amazing stories that you think, damn, I'm so sad that we're not getting this now because that show has been sadly, put to rest and it won't come back. But as you said, they're never say never. If people want to get on board, if these characters want to come back, they will find ways. But then you stumble down that tricky road that is multiverses and
Mhm.
parallel universes, which can be confusing to some. And say if
Tried it in the
you're
Flash movie, didn't they?
that's it. And if
Yeah.
there's so many different storylines that one has to read or be up to date with, then it can be overwhelming to know, all right, I've got to watch this show before I can watch this show.
Hmm.
And if I'm going to watch that finale, I need to make sure that I've watched the 2 seasons before. It doesn't really help. In some classic comics, and we still get today, there'll be a little glitch in the story, and it'll say, go back to issue 6 to find out why this
Yeah.
story is happening. And when you get that with a TV show, it's like, I've just spent, like 3 episodes getting the groove into
I
the
had to reorder the
series.
Superman Deluxe edition of the start of Rebirth, which drove my wife mental because it's huge. I was like, I need to read
I'm
this, but
sorry, love. Yeah,
yeah,
but one day it might be worth some money. It won't because I'm
yeah,
not going to
yeah,
sell it.
it won't
But
be. Yeah.
but that's the thing. If there are so many little strings going off in different directions, it's hard to keep your eye on the main storyline. So as long as a TV show comes out that is focused, that knows what it's doing, and it's got a team behind it that want to continue that story for many years to come, then I'm all for it. We've seen that, as you said, with some shows where it starts fantastically and builds and builds and builds, but then sadly stops. As you said, it's Smallville. We got Smallville and we were so incredibly lucky.
Oh.
10 years, not every single episode was a home run. Don't get me wrong, but Smallville is what got me into Superman. When season 1 started back in the day, I watched that on a Sunday morning, episode 1. I was like, okay, I recognize the storyline. I recognize the characters. I want to know more. And when season one finished, I was like, well, being in the UK, we're not
Yeah.
guaranteed that we're going to get a season two. So I need to use this time to learn more about these characters. So I reached out to friends and said, look, what stories can I read? What can I do to fill the time whilst I wait for season two? And from that, I fell in love with the world of Superman from Smallville. So it's got a very special place in my heart. And all these shows that we get today owe so much to Smallville,
Hmm.
as Smallville owes so much to the legacy of Superman. But it's just a shining example of that when a loving team gets behind a source material like Smallville and Superman, it can go on for years and it could lead on to other things such as Flash, such as Gotham. It leads on from that. So I'm hoping for so much more television in the future, but television that is done the right way.
Mm. Luke, just before we wrap up this episode, mate, and I've absolutely loved sitting down talking all things Superman with you. We mentioned at the start of the show the GOAT, Christopher Reeve. The documentary has hit the cinemas. It's now on TV. I've seen it more than once.
Mm.
For me, we talk about an emotional roller coaster of why we love this franchise and why we love things like Superman. I urge anyone to go and watch that documentary. What was it? I saw your review. I know you've reviewed it. I've seen you do a few interviews about it. I know you spoke about it in your podcast. What was it like for you coming from your perspective, especially with what you do, who you've seen, what you spoke to? When you sit down and watch a documentary like that, and you actually see a real life Superman. What did that mean to you when you watched that documentary?
When I found out about the documentary happening many, many months ago, I was like, okay, this needs to happen. It needs to get picked up by the right people. I am going to help fund this if they do a fund me page.
Hmm.
And then it happened that, James Gunn and everyone at DC got involved and wanted to make it. So it became a reality. And I was like, right, fantastic. Next phase. How do I help promote this film? How do I, in a way, create a stronger connection with Superman by helping to promote this film? So as you've done before, you jumped on the email, you reached out, you asked to speak with producers and directors and composers, and from that, I got to help produce and promote the movie, not produce, promote the movie. But watching that film on that fateful Sunday with Paul from DC World and Tasman the Inspiring Kryptonian, and to be in a room filled with anticipation to watch this documentary was amazing. Whenever I get to go to London, I'm excited because it's London. It's the big city. It was a Sunday and there was a train strike. I was like, I need to get to London no matter what. So I did. I got there in the end. This documentary, I wasn't expecting to be so emotionally hit from the moment it started
Likewise.
to the moment it finished. Now we're all aware of Christopher's story, his rise and everything that happened before the film and after film, and before and after the accident. This film almost told it in a new way, from a new perspective. That being speaking with his lovers, speaking with his partners, hearing stories from his children that I've never heard before. I think it's an absolute shining light onto the producers and directors that the Reeve family said, look, here's a box of home video footage. We trust you completely. Do what needs to be done. And that's so personal to do that. I lost my father when I was 15.
Mm.
And so seeing some parts of that documentary brought a lot back that I thought that I had bottled up deep
Yeah.
down inside. It brought it all out. And yeah, it was an emotional moment, but a beautiful film. And I seriously can't recommend it enough. But just how it was, again, from the moment to the end, it was beautiful. And we knew that we were meeting the directors after the event. So whenever I go to an event and I know I'm meeting someone, I will write out a thank you card.
Hmm.
I love a bit of old school thank you cards. It's something that I've always done. And I had an inkling of an inkling that the one of the Reeve children may come to England to help promote it, because it was playing at the BFI the next day. And I just thought, well, if they're coming and I don't have a thank you card for them,
Hmm.
that's a real faux pas for me, and I would never forgive myself. So we went and had a fantastic roundtable chat with the directors, which was hilarious and inspiring, and to learn more about how a film like this gets made. And as we were saying our goodbyes, the door opened up at the end of a corridor, and we saw the Reeve family there.
Wow.
And I saw the back of Will Reeve, and Will's he's a big lad.
Big dude.
He's
Mm.
got his father's frame, and when he turned around, it was like, wow. There's a regal air in the room when the Reeve family are present, and for me, that was for one of the biggest moments for me, just because of the fact that it is Superman and it's Christopher Reeve, and it is this wonderful human that has brought so much light to the world of Superman, but also for the accident that happened to him and
Hmm.
how he wanted to help change the world in a way that he could, even from his wheelchair or from his hospital bed, which is an absolute perfect way to describe Christopher Reeve, is that he wanted to help the world like a Superman. And yeah. So meeting them and meeting their children and handing them a card where I said, thank you for coming to England, thank you for this film. Said a little bit about my dad, and it was sort of a full circle moment for me. I was
Hmm.
like, this is where I've managed to bring myself along, along this on this journey. And the next day we went to a charity event where after the film was played in London, and we met the Reeve family again, and I've been pinching myself ever since. But we had a chat then about the card that I gave them, and we had a little chat about my dad, and that
Hmm.
for me was like, oh, this is a big for me. It's a moment that I've not gotten over, and it's helped make me love my Superman, the legacy of Superman, even more. And it's why I recommend anybody that wants to try something new with something that they love, whether it be stamp collecting, could be bird watching, could be talking about American football. It's something there that we're passionate about. And there are so many ways that we can reach out now and speak the right way with people about how we can help promote something or talk about the things that bring us joy. Because if we're not doing something for the love of it, why are we doing it?
Luke, what a perfect way to end the episode, my man. Thank you so much for starting my
No,
journey with me on Completed It,
I
my
tell
little
you what,
venture into something that I wanted to do for a while.
if you put a bit of money in me, I'm like a fruit machine. I will keep on going. Yeah. And when I start talking about those things that I love talking about, it's hard to shut me up. But you've done it perfectly, buddy. But I would
Root.
gladly come on here to talk about passions and films and sports whenever you want. You're a fantastic interviewer, and I love talking about Superman. And your questions were perfect and well planned out. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate that, Luke. Luke, just tell our people that are hopefully going to be tuning into this and watching it. Tell us where they can find you. For those that haven't subscribed yet, why the hell haven't you? Where can they find you, and what have you got coming up, my friend?
Just search for the podcast of Still or the Geek of Still, which is me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, all those places where everybody is these days. And especially over the upcoming months, as you said, July the 11th, Superman is coming out. I'm trying to speak with as many people around the world about this film and about what Superman means to them. So I think today and tomorrow, I've got a few podcasts with America and Australia. So right now,
Nice.
my sleep patterns are all
Ah, dude,
over
I
the
stayed up
place.
for the NFL last night. I don't even know what day it is.
But that's the thing. I'm so willing to like you wake up in the middle of the night to talk or listen about things that bring me joy. And yeah, I'm trying to do as many as I can. I'm sure I'll be busy over the upcoming months helping to promote this film the only way that I know how to. And it's just whenever I get to share the love of Superman with the world, I'm happy to do that. And a new podcast will be coming soon where I am talking with Derek, who has been hosting podcasts now for over 20 years. And we are working directly with the Siegel and Schuster Society.
Wow.
So we are going to be sharing the love for Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, talking about how Superman has been here for so many years because of these two amazing guys. And we're going to help as much as we can with the charity fundraising for the society, as they're trying to get some fantastic statues put up in Ohio to help celebrate Superman. And I'm pretty sure that's why James Gunn chose to shoot a lot of his new film there, because Ohio is the home of Superman. So there's a lot of stuff coming out from me, I'm afraid, over the upcoming months. My furry little face is going to be all over the internets.
Well, Luke, thanks so much for jumping on the first episode of Completed It. I know we've got Paul from DC World coming on. I've got Tim
Yes.
Russ, who played Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager. I'm sitting down with him later today. That'll be out next week. But if anyone wanted to find us, our Twitter or our X account has just started at Completed It Pod. We're on YouTube as well. Just type in at Completed It Pod. You will find us on there. I'm setting up all the Facebook, all this
You
stuff.
are. You're doing well.
It's
You
all
are
going to be.
hustling.
I'm trying my best, my friend. I'm taking my work ethic from my NFL and my sport, and I'm putting
Yes.
it into this. So hopefully, I'm sitting here in 9 years' time, and I'm still doing this. But I'm going to come and see you at Portsmouth Comic Con,
Are you?
Luke. I know you're
Awesome.
involved. I've told my wife that we're going to make the couple of hours trip down from I'm near London, Milton Keynes, down to Portsmouth. So I've always wanted to do. I love doing Comic Cons. I told my
Yeah.
wife that you're going to be heavily involved with that. We're going to make a weekend of it. Take my daughter down, see the sights and sounds of Portsmouth. But yeah, I'm going
There's
to come down
lots.
and catch you at Portsmouth
Well,
Comic Con,
well, I'll
buddy.
tell you what, because you're coming down, I'll have a chat with John from the wonderful Express FM. He does a speaker's corner there where he
Mhm.
interviews people from the world of the internet and superheroes and entertainment. I'm sure he will want to have a wonderful chat with you. Now, what I did also see earlier on online is that possibly Aaron Smolinski is coming on for a chat on the show.
Is indeed. Those of you, he didn't say much, but everyone knows who this guy is. If you watch Superman and you want to see the kid holding up the car, aka Superman, he is jumping on the show with me as well in the next week or so. I've reached out to him.
It's
The
brilliant.
thing I do find out about doing this show, there are ways and means of reaching people. God
Mm.
bless the internet, whether it's
Yes.
emails, DMs. My wife will literally say to me, "How many people have you emailed today?" And it could be 30, 40, 50. Just I'm I'm a bit like that, Luke. I don't stop hustling. If
No,
you're
that's
passionate about
fine.
something, let's make it happen.
Exactly. When I was in sorry to keep you, I've got one
No,
more
you're good.
story.
You're good.
It was the Superman celebration in America. I went out there twice. I need to go back because it's just a beautiful, beautiful place in Metropolis, Illinois. And I was walking back to my hotel to freshen up, and I heard a voice from across the street saying, "Luke, Luke." I was like, "Okay, well, I know a few people here, but I don't know who is." And the roads in America are huge, and
Hmm.
this guy crossed. And as he was getting closer and closer, these glasses aren't for show; these really are, because my eyesight is terrible. It was Aaron Smolinski crossing the road to say hello, and I
Wow.
was like, "That's Baby Superman.
Baby
Baby
Superman.
Superman knows I exist. I've made it. This is this is the big time for me." And Aaron has got so many fantastic stories. He loves talking about Superman, his time working on Superman and Superman 2. He is in Superman 2 as well.
Mm,
And he's in Man of Steel. The dude gets about. So
yes,
say hello to Aaron for me. He's a
I will.
fantastic guest. I can't wait to listen to that episode. And yeah, Portsmouth Comic Con. We will definitely meet up there, buddy. That would be
Yeah, no
fantastic.
problem. I'll drop you a text. But Luke, thanks so much, my friend. I wish you nothing but success. Honestly, I
Thank you.
mean that. You're one of my friends. As soon as a notification comes up that you've dropped a new show, I make sure I watch or listen wherever I am. I work on the road a lot, so I usually pop you in my ears and listen to a podcast. So keep up the great work, mate, and
I
I'll
will,
catch up with
sir.
you soon.
Thank
Ladies
you
and
so much.
gentlemen, this has been the first ever episode of Completed It. I've been your host, Andy Burrows. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.